real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here?
Hey everybody, how's it going? Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, pACT channel, president, founder, me, Zach Clayton. How you doing? I've still got that song stuck in my head from that NoCo mobile gaming, that dunk, dunk, dunk. I don't know. Every time I hear that, I just sit here and I dance along to it, and it's just, I feel like, you know, the circus is in town and we're having fun and scaring the hell out of little kids. But that's not what NoCo mobile gaming does. Okay, they have a lot of good things, and you really ought to check them out. And if you're in the northern Colorado area, you know what? They're great ways to make your party the best. So I've got a very difficult situation to talk about, and I just found out about this. When we switched our email provider, we lost something called a catch-all. And all of these little QR codes that you're seeing, my hand has disappeared here. All those little QR codes that you're seeing, each one of them had their own little catch-all email address. We have not been getting them. If you have turned in receipts, please contact me at 970-909-0751, 970-909-0751. One more time, that's 970-909-0751. And hopefully you still have those receipts and we can still get those donations sent. I will be working diligently for the next couple days to try to get this resolved and get those QR codes active and working correctly. Once again, we've gotten 0 receipts because I made a mistake. I didn't read the fine print. Huge mistake on my part. Please bear with us. Give us a couple days. We'll get this fixed, and we'll go from there. One other thing we've got is that we had an illness take over. So we are one person short today, but that does not mean that we are short any energy and any excitement, because we have the goddess of the grape, Mrs. Stephanie Samos. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm doing great, Zach. I'm glad to be here. How are you?
Hi.
I love technology. It's okay. It'll be fixed.
Do the little smiley face and make it look like you know, everything is all okay. But yeah, it's kind of weird that you know, I've gone all this time and I have not heard of, or I didn't realize this, and it's just, that's really too bad. And it's quite honestly, hey, Alistair, how are you doing? Alistair Banks is joining us. It's great to see you, sweetie. I'd love to talk to you again sometime soon. But yeah, it's just so angry, I guess, is what I'm looking for, that we went through that. But so how have you been doing this week? Are we still on track for the newest addition to the One Hope Community Pay It Forward family?
We are. We're about 6 weeks out now, so we're getting to crunch time. It's really getting close. I mean, I wish it would move a little bit faster, but you know, it's just because I'm feeling large these days. But I'm here and I'm excited to be here. And even though Pandas Network can't join us tonight, we'll get them back on another show to kind of give the updates, because they have some really great things going on.
Well, and yeah, we ended up having there was miscommunication and an illness all in one. So it was really one of those things that it didn't work out very well, but for them this week. But we will get them back on. Um, and we're going to try to get them on next week and have them join us next week. So please come back on. And the greatest thing, in which and I apologize for that, Stephanie, because it's not really a great thing that you've got the experience with pandas, but we have somebody here who can talk about pandas because you have experienced pandas with one of your children. So, but we do have a guest, a very, very special guest, and he is the founder and president of Pieces of Me, and that is pieces as in the peace sign of me. And of course, I can't get my damn mouse to work now. But Mr. Daniel Hodges, boy, I'm telling you, you know what? Take two. Take two. Let's do this again. Let's start over. Let's get this started from ground zero. Mr. Hodges, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. And, we're still going to have a good evening. I look forward to having another conversation with y'all. And I will try to bring the energy of two guests all wrapped up into one tonight. We'll see what happens.
Hey, you know what? That sounds great to us. And Daniel, I really appreciate it. Daniel, can you give us your and please don't go into any detail you don't want to share, but can you give us the story of you? Can you explain to people why you created Pieces of Me and why it was important to you personally, and some of the struggles maybe you've had that can maybe lead somebody else to success?
Absolutely. So I was born blind. I've got a little bit of vision in one eye, no vision in the other. And I was also born with a connective tissue disorder. And when I say that last part, it sounds like medical jargon because it honestly is. What that actually means is I cannot think of a moment in my life that precedes the pain. I've always had some level of pain in my life. There's always been some level of ADHD and anxiety. And the interesting thing about having those conditions together with the blindness is that, connective tissue disorders or rare diseases in general are, by definition, difficult to get a proper diagnosis for, particularly when you have the presence of another disability that may tend to shroud over everything else. We have this thing called diagnostic shadowing, which basically means that if there's one explanation that is somewhat digestible, then things get shoved into that box, even if it defies logic. And so I had, you might say, an interesting childhood. My parents did their best, but there weren't a lot of resources made available to them. And so I missed out on a significant of my K-12 education and really struggled to find my footing until I was a young adult. That's when I was introduced to Braille and a long white cane technology and started to try to climb out of the rut that I was in. Fast forward several years, I've dealt with educational setbacks as an adult. It took me some time to get my bachelor's degree because of anxiety, pain, surgeries, etc. Wasn't sure if there was going to be anything more beyond that, especially when I had kids, and kids dealt with their own medical stuff. And in 2017, when I was 33, I was challenged by a couple of mentors to up my game again and go back to law school or go to law school and put these advocacy skills and this knowledge that I had gained through the School of Hard Knocks to work. And a year later, after fighting with something we call vocational rehab, which is a government program that's supposed to help people with disabilities excel and usually ends up being just one more, weight around our neck that we have to deal with, I got into law school with a scholarship. And while I was there, just kept seeing people myself and others falling through the cracks of the existing disability infrastructure. And you know what? I've overcome so much that I remember what it's like. I know there's people going through it right now. I see it in front of me. I see how the resources that are there just aren't meeting needs. And finally, between my first and second year of law school, sat down with my cousin and said, okay, you've got your story. I've got mine. I've got this idea. What do you think about starting a nonprofit? And the running joke is 4 years later, I'm still not sure she's forgiven me for it, but she said yes, and she stuck with it. So, you know, we have a Pieces of Me Foundation that is meant to help people reach that next phase of life with a disability or chronic illness, get connected with the people, the resources, and honestly, the hope that will help them meet that next phase with a sense of empowerment and really unleash that potential back into the world so we can all pay it forward and continue creating opportunity for those that are still being held back.
You've got a quite extensive board. We're kind of looking at your board right now, where you've got people from, you know, many different walks of life. It looks like, and you know, a lot of younger people. Do you find that with the younger people, that they bring a lot of energy to what you guys do, and the ideas tend to flow a little bit better?
I'm so glad you point that out, because you know, I'm 39. Christy's in her 30s as well. We have people like Kushbu and Elizabeth, who are same age range or slightly younger, who bring tremendous talent to the table. And then we have others like Karen, who has been with us since the very beginning, who is maybe looking toward retirement. And we have a group of people who not only vary by age, but vary by, you know, some live in Maryland, some live in California, some live in various other parts of the country, different experiences with disability. We have autism and other neurodiversity represented, including mental health. We have people like myself who are blind, and others who have maybe some mobility issues, and chronic pain is well represented. And then we have a couple of members of the board who are learning about this almost in a trial by fire. They don't identify having a disability of any kind, and so they come in as allies and help us make sure that we are really looking at the whole 360. We have all sorts of different spiritual and religious beliefs represented. We have all kinds of political represented. There's a running joke on board. I'm not going to identify who, but I will say there's a running joke on the board of A person and B person. I love the fact that you get along. You are never allowed to talk politics with each other. We're not going because I have an idea of who lands where on the spectrum. But to me, that's the power, because we're looking at holistic solutions. How do we build on that common ground, and how do we break free of the echo chambers usually the advocates?
Yeah, it looks to me like you've got people like Fred Brown, who's a professor of law. You've got Gary Horton in information technology, over 40 years. So, you know, you've got so much diversity, and I think that that's a wonderful thing, because you've got so many different paths, and that's the one thing that, you know, when Stephanie Z and I, when we started Footprints, that's something that we're really trying to make sure that we're doing, is we're making sure that we've got people where, you know what, we've all got one mission, and that mission is to try to help people with suicide, suicide ideation, or suicide thoughts, or mental health issues that, you know, they need to work out. But we want to make sure that we get everyone covered, because, you know, there are so many people who get into a rut, Daniel, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you get too many people who think identically, you get into a rut and you really close off a lot of things that that you could potentially do. Is that the way you guys look at it?
I completely agree. And you end up having a real problem coming up with creative and practical solutions that way.
Yeah, yeah, that is. I mean, yeah, that's one of the things. And I mean, we've had uh, we had a little bit of a hiccup, with a couple things because we've got a lot of creativity, but it's one of those things that you get through that and you face you face the mission, and that's what we're doing. Daniel, tell us, what is the ultimate goal of Pieces of Me?
So the the ultimate goal is to help move the conversation forward. We talk about erasing the stigma surrounding disability and chronic illness, and that that requires having a fundamentally different conversation societally on the topic. That requires helping people broach the subject without some of the fear and apprehension that usually accompanies these topics, so that people can ask questions, can learn, and can help share useful ideas. We talk about creating the Wikipedia of disability resources, which is one of our tangible goals, but it is a means toward really helping create opportunities by dispelling the myths and replacing skepticism with curiosity, looking to learn together, so that we can start more opportunities.
Okay. I'm having a little bit of difficulty hearing you, so I'm going to try to turn my micro or my headphone into something different. So if you look at me and I'm doing something funny, that's what's going on. So please bear with me. But what are some of the things, Daniel, that you guys have run into that you're like going, geez, if we could just get over this problem, the sky's the limit?
Um, so it is generally understood that among the blind population, for instance, it's suspected that about 7 out of 10 of us are who otherwise could be employed are not. It is similarly around 2 out of 3 for the entire disability population. And contrary to what we might suspect, I saw a statistic a week or two ago that said 80% of people with disabilities could perform meaningful work with proper accommodation. So why isn't that happening, particularly when businesses are struggling? Well, there's 2 issues. One is that accessibility has been presented as a problem that is yet another expense to be managed, and not as an investment that will help a company's bottom line, particularly when we're looking at rumors of recession or other things. If it's not an investment, it's on the chopping block. The other is, as I network, talk with some of my friends who are small and medium-sized business owners, they're theoretically willing to hire a person with a disability, but they're afraid to run into hurdles. They're afraid to ask the wrong question. They're not sure where the on-ramp is that opens up those opportunities. And if we want to talk about fixing the poverty level for people with disabilities, my disability check is $1,150 a month. They didn't get to pay anything. But fix things like that. If we want to talk about improving mental health for people with disabilities, employment is core component of that solution. And we can't just hire ourselves. Entrepreneurship's a great route, but really the solution to involve business owners who now like a guilt trip feel like it's just relying on. They should feel like it is a win-win for the business and the potential employee, and that's what progress looks like, and we just haven't yet.
Okay. And what? This is kind of a weird question, but I would really like to know, what are some of the things that you wish people would? What are some of the biggest misinformation? I guess misinformation pieces that are out there that you wish people would understand.
So I'm going to put my headset in here and see if that helps your audio as well.
Hold on. We're.
How's that? Is that any better?
I'm not sure if we lost Zach, but I can hear you better now, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay.
And I can so relate. I'll jump in here until Zach is back because I think he's frozen. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, you know, when it comes to accommodations and things like that, just from our personal experience, you know, with my son. And I think it comes down to communication and just having a conversation, asking the questions, you know. When it comes to my son, you know, I had to have a lot of conversations with the school, with the preschool, with the elementary school. It got more challenging when he was in intermediate. And, you know, now since the pandemic and all those things, we've been in a cyber setting, and they've actually really been able to do so much more. I think it comes down to the resources too. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but share kind of what you think on that. And when it comes to employment, I'm sure people want to work and want to do something purposeful. You know, what would that look like in a, you know, perfect setting, in a perfect scenario?
I think, you know, in a more perfect world, we understand that, you know, disability, blindness, whatever it may be, is a characteristic, and in most cases it doesn't preclude us from living out our other gifts and talents. Not every blind person can or should go to law school, but blindness isn't the controlling factor there. There's a bunch of other ones that are controlling factors, and I think we've somehow fallen into this rut where we think that the disability is really the determining factor of what the potential is, rather than looking at the person as a whole. And, you know, Zach, to answer your question, I think there's a couple of foundational misconceptions here. One is that if we put a blindfold on you and you try to do what you do or what I do on an everyday basis without any guidance, you're going to have a very poor understanding of what blindness is like, because it has left out the alternative techniques, it's left out the experience, all these other things. And when we see disability simulations, that's where they drastically fall short. They reinforce the stigma. And the other is, you know, we still have a problem where we haven't differentiated between what struggles are inherent to the disability versus what ones are structural or societal in nature. I often tell people, most people I ask who are sighted generally assume that, you know, maybe 80% of the struggles I face are inherent to vision loss, and 20% are structural, societal in nature. Lack of braille, lack of accessible websites, societal attitudes, that sort of thing. In reality, the numbers are actually inverted. The loss of vision is not, it's not nothing, but I rank it at about 20%. There's very little I cannot or do not do strictly by virtue of not having more eyesight. The hurdles I run into are misaligned expectations, their lack of access, their attitudes, all these other things. And the really powerful insight that comes from that is that means we're not waiting for a miracle surgery to fix things.
Yeah.
We're waiting for people to come to the table and learn. And I have to believe, as somebody who's tried for the miracle surgery and had physical harm because of it, I much prefer the idea that by having conversations like this, we're chipping away at that wall a little bit every day.
You know, me having, in which I'm completely deaf in my right ear. Okay. And that's because of the motorcycle accident. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things that there's a lot of times I sit there and I tell myself, good God, how come it couldn't be my left ear that was deaf? Because when I'm in a car, I can't hear anybody speak, and it's frustrating to me, and all this other stuff, you know, and I do that. But then I start thinking to myself, it's like, good God, at least I'm not deaf in both ears, you know. But when you said that, you know, not every blind person can go to law school, that's not saying that every blind person couldn't go to law school, though, right? Every person with disabilities or altered abilities, they can do whatever the hell they want, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was more. No,
I understand, but it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those things that I think it's very important that we tell people, look,
yeah,
you limit you.
yeah, and well, and I'm glad we're revisiting this point for clarity. It's not that blindness prevents some and doesn't prevent others. It's well, I think there is a subset who has lost belief in themselves, but really the broader point here is not every sighted person can go to law school. Law school's flipping hard. That's the point.
I got lost on the way to law school. It was called high school.
Yeah, and so that not every person is meant to do everything, and that's okay. That's how we get along as a culture and have an ecosystem, a social ecosystem that works. And we run into a problem here where we say, well, blind people we know can work in a telephone bank, or they can work in IT, or they can do this, or they can do that, and we start limiting things grouped by disability. But wait a minute, what are the other gifts and talents here? What if they're a terrific actor or musician, or we have a handful of people who have actually made it through medical school and are doing great work as people with disabilities. I wish that were happening more. Now, do I need to be going to medical school? No, I don't have that particular skill set. Just because I've got a friend who is a whiz at working on automobiles who happens to be totally blind. Can I go do that? Probably not.
No.
But he has so many other gifts that I don't, and I have gifts that he doesn't, and that's human.
Yep, that is it. And look, I mean, here's when somebody tries to limit somebody, all you have to do is bring up one person, really, and it defeats all limitations, and that's Beethoven.
Yeah.
Beethoven was deaf, and his music, hundreds of years later, is still known as some of the essential in music.
Yep.
And so, the one thing that is funny with people, that's funny when you inherit, I guess, or are born with the lack of one sense or a or your ability challenged in one thing, your body copes. Your body copes. It's not easy all the time, but we cannot tell somebody that they can't do something unless we let them try. And they say, you know what? I'm sorry, man, this isn't my path. So I think that's a great, I love your spirit on this. I really do.
Well, and thank you. And I want to also say too, 'cause I've heard the thought of, well, it's one thing if you're born with it. What if you've lived your life a certain way for decades, and then what happens? You know what? Human nature is resilient, and I've known so many people who were non-disabled up through however many years or decades of life and acquire a disability and still find a way to pivot and become even stronger than they were before. It can happen. And I think it's really important to say, it's about whatever, life throws at us from day to day. Are we willing to adapt? Are we willing to look for that next rung up the ladder? Or are we going to put limits upon ourselves and each other that keep us from not only living our potential, but really sharing the gifts we have with each other and running into situations like we have now where so much potential is just left on the cutting room floor?
Yeah. I think personal strength and your give, how much are you willing to give? How much are you willing to work? Because if you're not willing to work, and look, let's be honest here. How much self-pity do you have?
Yep.
Okay. There's not a single person in this world who can't sit down and go, I just quit today. I don't feel like doing it because, my big toe hurts. And there's always a reason to quit. And I think people who have challenges with ability, they're the ones who really show the spirit of America, to be honest with you, because they're the ones who sit there and they're like going, you put limitations on me. I'm going to stick my middle finger up in the air and say, watch me. And I love that. I love it so much. You, like you said, you did something by going to law school. You did all this. And yeah, it's the hand that you were dealt, but you did not sit on your butt. You went for it. And it's lovely and it's inspiring.
Well, thank you. Let me spend a little bit of time on 2017 here for a minute too. And not toot my own horn here, but add some color to this as well. Memorial Day weekend of 2017, I went in and had a major surgery on my left hip and femur because I had a 35-degree twist in both femurs. So
that sounds fun.
They broke the femur about halfway down and rotated it back into place, inserted a vertical titanium nail from hip all the way down toward the knee, put 2 screws in, and also cleaned up the hip socket. The labrum, which is the cartilage in the knee and the hip, was shredded. The capsule that holds everything together was loose. The femoral head was misshapen almost to the point of absurdity. And so they did all that. In the process, I actually acquired a second fracture that they didn't plan on up toward the head of the femur. And I had been out of the hospital and rehab for about a couple of weeks when I had a major inflammatory attack in the other knee, and I had to deal with that. And that was around the same time that the divorce was finalized between my ex-wife and I. First week of July, went to Orlando for a major convention, trying to find employment. Ended up with a torn tendon in my other foot because of the limp and just trying to walk through this convention center for a week. Came back exhausted, so anxious I couldn't hardly eat for a full week. um, having multiple severe anxiety attacks per day for about 5 days. And that is the week. At the end of that week is when the first mentor came to me and said, "Hey, you're smart, you're articulate, you're a great advocate. Would you ever consider going to law school?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I don't know about accessibility. I don't know if I can make it with the pain. I don't know about being able to afford it. I don't even know if I'm smart enough to do this. And then 48 hours later, a second mentor who's never spoken with the first one came and almost verbatim said the same thing out of nowhere. I've known this person for almost 10 years at that point. She'd never said anything about law school before to me, and she picked that weekend to do it. And I'm like, okay, that's not a coincidence. What's going on here? So I prayed about it, and that's what led me to go that path. But in the back of my mind, I realized that people with Ehlers-Danlos and other severe chronic pain conditions, it's not about what profession you're in, whether or not you're able to stay in the workforce. There's people who have stayed and worked through it. There's people who have fallen out of the workforce. And it's not about toughness. It's not about so many other things. It's about alignment. Do I have a purpose, a goal, something that calls me out of bed in the morning that I can work on that is more powerful than the pain I'm in? I mean, this morning I woke up with pain in both of my wrists and one of my ankles. And I'm like, man, this sucks. But I quickly forgot about it as I dove into the good things I was doing today. Yeah, the pain's still there, but it's in perspective because there's something more powerful drawing me out of my shell, and that I can look toward and understand that I'm making a difference and hopefully helping others find some hope and find some ability to break down the walls in their life by this journey that I'm living.
Stephanie.
I think we're losing him again.
Oh, no. I was waiting for you to, it looks like you were off mute, so I thought maybe you had something to say.
Oh, no, I can so relate to a lot of the things that Daniel has been sharing, that I'm so glad he's back and sharing his story. And it's incredible. Like, that you went after your passion. It was alignment. It was two people coming to you saying, like, hey, why don't you do this? And look at where you are now, sharing your story. It's empowering for other people to hear too, who may have, a similar disability, maybe something different, and something sitting in the back of their mind. They're going to watch this show and they're going to say, hey, I heard Daniel, and man, maybe I should take the leap and just go for it. Life is short, and really, people should pursue what makes them happy. So I'm glad you kind of found your way with that. It's really awesome. And I would not volunteer for law school. So.
Oh, come on, Stephanie. You'd be good at law school. You've got all those kids, you should debate the hell out of
business school. Totally fine. Loved it. Law school, not my jam. Daniel, you rock. You're awesome.
Hey, Daniel, I got one last question for you, and then we're going to have Stephanie talk a little bit about pandas. But why don't you do me a huge favor and do them a huge favor? And why don't you tell us about some of the organizations that have helped you through your journeys and brought some comfort, relief, or just reality to your situation that's helped you cope and help you get through things?
Absolutely. So I started out in advocacy with the National Federation of the Blind, which helped me really reimagine my perspective on blindness. I've really benefited from a lot of the various Ehlers-Danlos programs. It's so empowering to have peer-to-peer connection where you understand you're not the only one who's lived these things. I'm going to give a shout out to some of my peers, such as Invisible Warriors and Victorious, who are both out there kind of along with us, sharing the fact that there's a different message about having a disability and chronic illness. And, obviously I've relied a lot on my faith to get me to where I am. And, I'm a part of a community called Center Vision Leadership, which helps nonprofits, leaders and clergy, take that next step. So I as somebody who didn't have any business experience before starting Pieces of Me Foundation and understanding that a nonprofit organization is a business where you don't get to keep the profit yourself. It goes back into the mission. And by the way, you have all of the business elements, plus you have extra regulations. That's what a nonprofit organization is like. So, Center Vision has been so critical in helping us take that next step.
Well, that's just fantastic. And then it's piecesofme.org. And once again, that's pieces as in the peace sign. Yo, dude. Piecesofme.org. And then tell us, Daniel, how else can people get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Hodges, JD. You can go to the website, pieces.me.org, and drop us an email. There's a link on there to book some time on my personal calendar. I love getting in touch with people. So those are probably the best ways. And let me just say really quickly, we always talk about the highlights in interviews like this, but I don't want people to mistake the fact that it's not linear. It's ups and downs. Some days really suck, and that's okay. If you're in that position today, I get you. I hear you. Hopefully there are some things that we can do to get you to a better place tomorrow. Because we don't want people staying there, but I don't want people feeling like they're a failure if they're having a bad day either.
I love that. That's so fantastic, Daniel. You know what? Again, my brother, I love and support you in any way that we can. I cannot wait to get you in the community Pay It Forward family. I know that you guys are working on that diligently. Nudge, nudge. To get everything in. And then that way we can work with you guys more and help as many people as we can. Daniel, you are one of the reasons that I am confident in when I say that everyone has a story, and there's something in that story that's going to open someone's eyes that's at an impasse and they don't know where to go. It's people like you who can tell their story and look, here's that bridge. You can get to the next problem, and then you build that next bridge and help the next person. You are one of those people who makes me feel like I'm telling it correctly. So I appreciate you joining us. And Stephanie, while Daniel's still on, I guess I better pull up the right page though. Because, I've got so many things going on here because I think I'm important or something. I don't know. But, Stephanie, while we've still got Daniel on, why don't you do me a favor and please explain what we've got right here?
Absolutely. So if you are watching and you are not on our Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraiser group on Facebook, be sure to join us there because we are highlighting really incredible organizations just like Daniel's each and every month. And we share some fun recipes and things on that page as well. So join us there. But what you see here on the screen is the fundraising links to both Pandas Network and Pieces of Me Foundation. You can take your phone camera out, hold it right up to that QR code. On top is Pandas Network. On the bottom there is Pieces of Me Foundation. It will take you directly to the One Hope Wine fundraising link specific to that organization where every purchase will give back. So, and if you prefer to just type it into your browser, it's right there, onehopewine.com/event/ and then there's a unique 6-digit code at the end, depending on which organization you would like to support. So
again, and Daniel, if you'd like to stick around, Stephanie is going to be our expert today in talking a little bit about Pandas Network. And she is very familiar with it because and I don't want to say unfortunately, Stephanie has been in a situation where she's had to deal with pandas, and she's done a wonderful job. It's like we were talking about earlier. Everybody gets something thrown at them, and you learn how to adapt. So if you'd like to stick around, and if you have any questions for Stephanie, we'd love to have you. If you got to jump off and go, we completely understand.
If you don't mind, I probably should jump off. It's been kind of a difficult pain day. So,
hey, brother, man, I understand completely. So thank you very much for joining us, Daniel. And I'll be reaching out to you in the next couple days. So thank
nice
you very
to
much.
see you.
Thank you. I look forward to it. Great to see both of you as well. Thank you again for just the opportunity to come chat with you and hopefully do some good.
Hey, you know what, man? I do this show every Wednesday. You're always welcome to come and join me. Just reach out. You're inspiring, and I would love to always talk to you. So,
all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That was,
he's great.
Yeah, he really is. And there's just piecesofme.org, and I just look, if anybody ever had an excuse to say no, you would think Daniel could utilize that, but he didn't.
Right.
And that really does show people that, it's not worth quitting. It's worth continuing. And so let's keep going. So, well, Stephanie, it's you're doing double duty today.
I am. But
if I could afford to pay you overtime, I'd pay you overtime. But
well, I'm looking forward to hearing from Stacy. I know she's under the weather, but going forward, I will share some things. I want to just put it out there that this is nothing I say is medical advice. I'm just a parent, and I'm sharing my journey. And if you want medical advice, definitely go to pandasnetwork.org. And under their resources, there are a list of doctors that you can go and talk to if you suspect anything, with a child or want to direct a family to some resources. So Pandas Network is doing some really incredible things. I attended a parent conference this past week where a doctor came on and shared some of the new studies and findings. They're really making a lot of progress. I mean, from a parent perspective, and I know Diana feels this way, it's not fast enough, right?
Yeah.
But they also hosted a seminar for doctors as well, which I really love, because in our journey, we found that a lot of doctors don't know, or as she mentioned the last time she was on, like there needs to be like a gap. There's a gap that needs to be bridged between like traditional medicine and mental health. And we're just not there yet. And there's more of a need for doctors across the US than there actually is in practice that are successfully seeing and treating this. So we need more doctors on board. And if you're a parent, a nurse in the medical field, teachers, like I encourage you to take a look at their website. They have a new YouTube video up, which is like a demonstration of what actually happens in the brain with this neuroinflammatory disease, which I think really gives a great look into what's actually happening on the medical side. What I'll talk about a little bit is kind of our journey, how it started and where we're at now. And I'll say that it looks different in different children too. So keep that in mind. But if you find that, your child or someone has a child that has multiple symptoms that I mention, might be worth looking into. So
Do me a real quick favor and explain exactly what is pandas.
Yeah. So pandas or PANS is basically an immune reaction where the body attacks the brain, causing inflammation. And that's when you see these symptoms like what we observed with my son: OCD, tics, Tourette's, anxiety, sleep disturbances, bathroom issues. Gosh, the list goes on. But when you start to see kind of, these behaviors, and for him, it came out of nowhere. It was that traditional abrupt onset where 7.5 years ago, I can literally tell you the day in January that things switched. And I was just so lucky to have his teachers that were seeing him. He was in preschool at the time. They were seeing him every day, and they kind of went on this journey with me, taking him to doctors, taking him to specialists. We were here, we were there, and we were really hitting brick walls for months. And I'm thankful for them, because at some point you kind of start to feel like, well, if all the doctors are telling you there's nothing wrong, well, what else do you do? So what it kind of looked like was this. He was 4, almost 5. And I don't like to use the word normal, but like his milestones were on point for his age. He was going to preschool. His academics were great. He socially, was doing really well, all of those things. And we had such a major slide back so quickly where he couldn't write his name anymore. He, at times could only remember the T, the first letter of his name. He was, I hope I didn't lose you here. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. So no, that was me on my end. Something went out here, but we're good. He had the same mat number for rest time at preschool every day. Couldn't remember the number anymore. Started to kind of play alone, was kind of possessive and really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like with Legos and things like that, it had to be in a certain order and set up a certain way.
Obsessive, maybe?
Yeah. And like didn't really want other kids touching it. Definitely not at home with younger siblings, with Legos and blocks and things like that. I remember him stacking them in a certain way and then putting them up on the top shelf to make sure that nobody would touch them before he went to bed at night, because they had to be the exact same way the next day. And we had like a completely potty trained, almost 5-year-old slide back, in that aspect also. So it was a journey, and, things went in and out, different kinds of tics that he had, from twitching to throat clearing, trying to think, bedtime stuff. He used to go to bed real easy, and he'd be making up stories to stay up. Like, I'm scared of my closet now, which alone by itself, right, would look like, okay, well, he's a kid, monsters under the bed. But combined with all these other things going on, it was a lot all at once. We would have dinner, and then an hour later, he'd be screaming that he, was starving. That's something that's a challenge that we still kind of deal with, where he doesn't really feel full. If the food's there, he'll just continue eating. So there's, and I saw your comment, Zach, and I'll mention on that, we do see in the autistic community too an overlap with pandas. And there were times when I went to the doctors with him at that age, and I said to them, I've worked with children. I ran a gymnastics program. I serviced kids from toddlers all the way up to high school for years. I worked with kids in private preschools. I did camp programs, so I came from a background where I worked with special needs kids with my gymnastics programs. And then, looking at my own child, I had never seen a child regress and slide back in such a short amount of time in the way that my son did. So I was panicking. I remember multiple calls to the pediatrician, like, this has to be neurological. It has to be. Is he having absent seizures and I'm not recognizing it? Like, what's going on? He would completely like go out and just stare off into space and be like, hello. Like, what's happening? I'm scared to put him to sleep. I remember calling and leaving a message saying, can you see us? Because I'm literally afraid to put him to bed. Something is happening neurologically. And he pushed to get us into different doctors and things. I remember specifically one neurologist appointment where I brought 3 typed pages of symptoms to her with like explanations of scenarios, descriptions, where he was, what he was doing. The school was videotaping him for me just to get some footage to show, because some of the things that I was bringing to the doctor sounded a little off. So I wanted as much proof from like even an educator's perspective on what was going on versus what I was seeing at home. And we would communicate a lot. And I remember her saying to me, so do you want to medicate him for the tics today? Kind of looked at her like, I just brought you 3 pages of symptoms. And I'm really looking for why the tics are happening, not just medication so he can function in school. And that's when, on her way out of the room that day, she kind of said to me, you need to find a doctor that specializes in this. It's not me, And luckily at the time I had already been on Panda's Network website after I made that appointment, and I had a few others lined up. Some families, it takes years for them to get in front of a doctor that can actually understand and help them. And at that point, the longer you wait for some kind of treatment and the longer this ongoing infection is going on internally for that child, the harder it is to kind of bring them back, right? So took about 5 months. We got in front of a doctor, got him on some antibiotics. They usually need longer term antibiotics. And it was May of that year, Mother's Day weekend. He had been on antibiotics for just a couple of days. On Mother's Day, he woke up himself. I was floored, Zach. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, he's still in there. Wow. Okay. And that was when I knew. It was like that switch went off where I was like, well, maybe I'm a little obsessed, but I'm going to do whatever I can to get us as far back to baseline as I possibly can.
Well, I can understand that, because with your story right now, I think that a light just,
yeah. Well,
my head is a little blown right now. Let's just put it that way. There may be a realization, because we deal with a lot of the things that you just talked about. Matter of fact, when you were listing off a lot of things, I'm sitting there going, that sounds, and it just kept going. And there was nothing that you said that we don't, the clearing of the throat was the one thing that when you said that, I'm like going,
yeah,
because that's something that is a huge battle for us, and it's just one of those things that we thought it was a habit. So it looks like we have another test that we need to have performed. And so,
and the tics for my son kind of shifted, like it would go in waves, and some symptoms would come back, some would go away, some would look a little bit differently later on. He was more of my more severe case, and I say this lightly because I know that there are families and children in a much worse medical situation with this than we are. So I'm saying that lightly, but my younger two, I have twins that are just a little bit younger than him, and the onset for them was a lot milder and a lot more drawn out, where it wasn't such a quick flip like that. My younger son, ticks, he tested positive for strep. They all tested positive for strep and other co-infections. So, at one time, drawing labs and seeing strep, mycoplasma, Coxsackie all at once, but not presenting with these infections in a way that other children might, right? And usually the initial onset is between 4 and 7 years old, but there are adults with pandas. There are adults with pandas. And I know, as Diana has previously shared, she's followed some of these kids for the last 15 years and saw their progress. And, just as a mom watching and staying connected, 50% of them get better and 50% still have some underlying issues. So we're hopeful. We have come a long way from where we were, for sure. And it is isolating. I will say, we have brought up mental health so much lately, Zach, that I think for a while he wasn't sleeping. I wasn't sleeping. I was doing as much research on the computer as I could to bring as much to the doctor's appointments that I could to present ideas, to show them proof of what was happening through videos, through his schoolwork, examples of everything, a journal from his teachers too, which I thought was really valuable because there was more than one perspective involved, and they had known him before, where maybe some of these specialists didn't know him before, so they were seeing him as is, right?
Yeah.
And we ran labs with the pediatrician. Nothing came back immediately. So I think it really does take a specific specialist and doctor to really dig deeper, because you got to know where it's kind of coming from to treat. And some kids, like Diana mentioned, need IVIG or plasmapheresis or the more intense treatments. We started and have landed with longer antibiotics, and said to myself, I don't want him to be on antibiotics his whole life. Like, that's, it's like, which one's worse, right? Antibiotics for a long time, or dealing with this. So kind of picking your battles and your demons there. But we've made so many shifts as a family with nutrition and what I offer my kids, what we feed them. This definitely put a roadblock in our farm plans for a long time, because the focus was just on healing and making sure that we were doing our absolute best to go in a forward direction. But really happy that we're finally moving in that direction, because I think that lifestyle is going to help. We'll be able to grow our own food there and all of that stuff. Luckily, locally, we have 2 farms that I really trust that kind of know the situation. So we've got fresh milk and eggs and meats and all of that stuff locally here. And I think that also has made a huge, huge difference for us. So,
well, it's like I said, this conversation right here, and I don't know why it's never occurred to me to even think about it, but this conversation right here has been very eye-opening, and I think that I'm shocked, but excited, if that makes any sense, because maybe there's an answer out there that's just been overlooked. And I think that, look, this is one of the things that have always bugged me, is that our healthcare system tends to overlook things that they shouldn't overlook. And, if this was a possibility that someone's been struggling and they're not finding it, I don't know if it's just because I don't understand why they wouldn't look for it. I don't know. And now it's kind of one of those things that we've been searching for a year now to try to get the correct diagnosis, because like you said, the one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to take and put a kid into a zombie state just to try to make him workable.
Right. I mean, I understand that there, in some situations, medication is necessary. Obviously, we had ongoing infections. Medication was necessary. But you're right. I mean, why am I going to take from the neurologist medication just to treat the tics when there were so many other things going on where I was trying to make them understand, like, how do we pull back these layers and see where this is coming from? So most of the time there are more than one children in the family. I actually know multiple pandas families that have multiple children. They all present a little bit differently. My younger two are milder, knock on wood. They've been symptom free for a long time. With my daughter, she was getting chronic ear infections, and when she would get sick, she would start ticking when she would get sick. And then with an ear infection, they put you on antibiotics, right? So I would see that over the course of the antibiotics, her tics would get better. And it wasn't until she started developing this like arm tic where she would go like this and roll her wrists. And with antibiotics, that went away when she had an ear infection. And I was like, that's definitely also what we're dealing with. Thankfully she's been better. Her twin brother's been better. Got some challenges still with my older son, but we're chugging along and just trying to do the right thing for them, get them the support, get them the help. I think Daniel touched on this before, just having that open communication. And I've been blessed with their school system that they've really stepped in to help support him. I'm the mom that says, hey, like, willing to try anything that won't hurt him, right? As long as it's going to make everything easier for everybody involved. So,
well, I'm the dad that says, as long as it doesn't hurt him a lot, a little electroshock therapy. Yeah, what the heck? They can handle that. Hey, Stephanie, we're going to give you a break here for a second. Sure. When you go to the Pandas website, which is pandasnetwork.org, you can find a video. And this video is about, it's almost 4 minutes, but this is going to kind of explain to people a little more about pandas. This is called Rebecca's Panda Stories. So we're going to play this for you and give you an idea on what pandas is. And then when we come back, the goddess of the grape is going to get into the wines for us and talk a little bit more about them. And we'll let her go, since, we're making her work overtime for 2 shows in a row. So, but this is off of pandasnetwork.org, and this is called Rebecca's Panda Stories. So please enjoy this, and we'll be back with you in just a
moment. Rebecca is our second oldest. She's generally the type of person that kind of lights up a room.
She was a very good child. She was very smart, like from an early age, very outgoing child. She was doing really well in kindergarten. In the spring of 2009, after multiple positive strep infections, we started noticing a lot of anxiety, crying, not engaging at all. She just changed dramatically from this very outgoing, very smart, articulate girl to a child who needed help doing everything, even being fed. It's very, very difficult to see your child change. We just didn't know if she was going to come back.
I was 6 years old. I couldn't answer questions. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I couldn't eat, speak, breathe, drink. It's the level of, oh my God, I can't do anything and I'm scared.
I really felt like we weren't sure if we were ever going to get that energetic, beautiful child back. So the pediatrician mentioned that it might be pandas, and we had no idea what it was.
Pandas is part of the spectrum from the umbrella of autoimmune Encephalitis, the immune system of the body overreacts to infection from bacteria or viruses and mistakenly targets cells of the body because the body is attacking itself and producing antibodies. The brain develops inflammation, and this is when neuropsychiatric symptoms develop. There are many different kinds of symptoms, starting from tics, severe OCD, intrusive thoughts, hallucination, eating disorders.
My wife came across the Pandas Network, got us the cell phone of the neurologist. The neurologist put her on a taper of prednisone. Within 4 weeks, we started seeing the little girl come back.
We were seeing little improvements each week, and then all of a sudden she's all excited. I can talk again. That was when I felt hopeful that we were going to be okay.
So it was that was a moment where we felt like maybe we were going to get her back. I think it's the best outcome any of the parents could hope for.
It's important for people to hear about pandas because there are too many children out there who are just, it's not even being considered as a possibility.
Organizations like the Pandas Network are super important because of the, 1, awareness they raise, 2, communities that they build. If I could say one thing to a kid who has pandas, it would probably be, I know you're exhausted. You won't be dealing with this forever. And if it is something that's kind of going to be in string with you for the rest of your life, there are so many things you can do to kind of make it go a little easier.
We ran into a couple of people who just really did not believe in pandas.
I met so many professionals that are working with kids with pandas, misdiagnosing and mistreating, not because they're bad, they're just not informed. Only when we start treating it as a medical condition, then the entire medical profession will pay attention and take it more seriously.
And my hope for the future of pandas is that it's acknowledged and it's treated.
I am sharing my story because I am able to now. It is so important to talk about for a lot of different reasons, but primarily for our future.
Okay, so that's what happens when you don't pay attention to timing. But I was in dealing with something that may explain a lot of our problems. So, but all right, Stephanie. First off, thank you for opening your heart. Thank you for opening up about something that, look, none of us want to talk about the problems that we face on a day-to-day basis. But this is something that, with Pandas being one of the organizations that we're trying to help and we're trying to offer support to, I thought that, and unfortunately we ended up having the scheduling difficulty and the illness that came along with it. But we got lucky enough that we had somebody who is experienced in it and can talk about it. So, but
I always say if our story can help just one family get in front of a doctor a little bit quicker, it's all worth it, right?
You know what, sweetie, that's exactly what we were just saying earlier.
Yep.
The truth is that everyone has something in their story. It could be the way that they say and the way that they say and can make somebody go, holy crap, that's it. That's what I've been looking for.
Yep.
Put it into context. And if we tell stories, you telling your story about your children, there's could be somebody out there right now sitting there going, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Maybe this is, and I know this is true because guess what, Stephanie? We've got to get my son tested.
We'll talk.
So
we've got you.
I had never thought about it. I had never thought about it until you talked. Your story has opened my eyes that could maybe help a young man that, I know and love and is having some extreme difficulties right now. I'm not going to lie to you. We're
I
having a
mean,
lot
they
of hard
call
times.
this such a rare illness, right? But they say it's at least 1 in 200 children. So think about that. That means that every school has kids that are battling this, you know? And so if we could just reach those school nurses, those teachers, you know, their pediatricians, and that's what Pandas Network is doing, is offering these conferences to be able to inform, and not just the parents, but the medical professionals also. So I'm just so thankful for them, because truthfully, the other families that have experienced the same things have been the best support in our journey. And, you know, like I mentioned last time, Diana checking in every once in a while and just asking how the kids are means the world. So,
Yeah. And, you know, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it again about Diana, one of the things that when her and I had a one-on-one, I really wish that I lived closer so I could go over and give her a hug, because you could see how much she took into on her own. And you and I both know this with what we're trying to do, that there's a lot that we're trying to, you know, look, when you're trying to help people, there's always that want to take on some of what they feel.
yeah.
Diana does that. And you know, you just want to take and grab her and hold her and say, you're doing wonderful. You're doing so much good. And you know, you're helping my goddess of the grape, so you're a hero of mine. So, but speaking of the goddess of the grape, it's time for you to tell us a little bit about what we are doing.
Yeah. So spring is here. So I thought it would be really fun to talk wine and cheese pairings. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, that sounds fine. But first, let's once again, for those who were not on with us a minute ago, can you
Yeah.
explain this?
For sure. So if you are not on our Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraising group page on Facebook, definitely join us there so you can follow along with these incredible organizations that we're highlighting every single month. And if you would like to shop and support Pandas Network or Pieces of Me Foundation, the QR codes that go right to their One Hope Wine fundraiser are right there. You would just have to open your phone camera up to them. It'll take you directly to their specific fundraising link, where every purchase will support their organization. If you would like to type it right into your browser, onehopewine.com/event/ and you'll see right next to each of their organization names, there is a 6-digit code at the end that'll take you right there also.
Well, that is great. And so this is the one that you want to get started with right here?
Yeah. Yes, that's perfect. So first, I'm going to talk about some general rules with pairings. I'll give you some wine and cheese pairings with a variety of different wines, and then I'm going to wrap it up with some of my favorite picks for like this season that I think would be fun to just highlight, because I feel like they go with the season a bit better, and they're, well, while I'm not drinking right now because I'm 8 months pregnant, it's what I would be drinking if I wasn't with child.
Yeah.
So,
Let me ask you this real quick, and I know that I'm probably, you know, let's call it spoil alert. Is there any pairing for pepper jack?
oh, no, there isn't.
Damn.
There is not. No, not for pepper jack. I am going to give, and you know, we eat a lot of pepper jack cheese here too. My kids love spicy.
Yeah.
And, you know, they put it on burgers, they put it on everything.
Oh,
so,
I do too. You know,
um,
I'm a provolone pepper jack guy on my Phillies, you know, Philly cheesesteaks.
okay.
That is,
I would say, and this is totally just my recommendation, this is not our winemaker's recommendation, but with cheesesteaks, I'd go with a red, like a Pinot Noir or a Cab almost, depending. But if you're loading up cheesesteaks with some good cheese like that, that's probably the direction I would go. feel like Pinot Noir is so good. And it's a versatile wine that really goes. But if you're going with meat, I would go red.
All right.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
are we ready for the next slide?
Yeah, we can go to the second one and just hold it there for a little bit. All right. So some general rules to follow when pairing wine with cheese. Number one would be wine and cheeses from the same region usually go well together. Two would be fresh, lighter cheeses will go with crisp, lighter wines. Third tip here is heavier, dense cheeses will go with bigger and bolder wines. And four, just like wine, some cheeses taste better at room temperature instead of right out of the refrigerator cold. So I'm going to share some pairing ideas, then I'll highlight a few that I would recommend for this season. So let's start with Moscato first. We're going to go with sparkling Moscato, which I know you're a fan favorite of that because you like sweet, Zach. But sparkling Moscato goes well with mild blue cheeses and creamy bries. Our still Moscato, Gouda cheese, mild blue cheeses, and Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Pinot Grigio, which I also love for the season. Fresh mozzarella and brie. I'm Italian. I could do all the mozzarella all the time. So with our Sauvignon Blanc, goat cheese. Our Prosecco, which is a bubbly, Parmigiano Reggiano, and brie. Sparkling Brut, also with brie. Chardonnay with Fontina cheese and a mild buttery cheddar and Havarti cheese. And I'm going to say this because I'm about halfway through this list. This is not like end all be all. You know, if you're like, man, I don't really like brie cheese. I don't really want to eat that with the Brut. Don't do it. Like, try something that you like. You know, try. And if you like the pairing, it's a great pairing for you. This is just kind of a general feedback from our winemakers on what works really well together. But obviously, everybody's palate is different. So for rosé, for a light-bodied rosé, feta or mascarpone cheese. For a medium-bodied rosé, baby Swiss and a young cheddar cheese. For our red blends, for a lighter red blend, brie and a mild blue cheese. And for a medium to heavy bodied blend, are you opening up a bottle of wine, Zach?
You know what? I am trying to, but guess what? Brand new wine opener, and I broke it.
I'm like, what is he doing?
Brand new wine opener, and I broke it. And I was trying to open one of your beautiful gifts from me or to me, and I broke the damn thing. So,
oh my goodness, is it stuck in the cork?
Well, look at the if we can't really see it, but if you look at the little prongs, they're bent.
Oh boy, I'm sure you're gonna figure out a way to get that out somehow.
Well, you know what? If I've got, I'm a lover of knives, and I'll just punch the cork through.
Oh goodness. All right. I'll leave you to that. Don't worry. I'll distract. I've got more pairings here. So
that's good because I'm gonna run upstairs and grab another wine opener. So I'll be right back. Hopefully it'll work.
Yeah, totally fine. So for a medium to heavy-bodied red blend, think aged cheddars and smoked Gouda cheese. I mentioned Pinot Noir before when Zach was talking cheesesteaks, which I absolutely love. So with Pinot Noir, think feta, brie, and creamy blue cheese. With a Merlot, you want to go with a Gorgonzola, a brie, or a cheddar cheese. For our Primitivo Italian wine or a Zinfandel, think aged cheddar cheese and Parmesan. For a Cabernet Sauvignon, aged Gouda and aged cheddar. With a Petite Syrah, blue cheese. For our Brunello, think Pecorino Romano cheese, Gorgonzola, Fontina, and Parmigiano Reggiano. For our Esperanza, Asiago, and Gouda cheese. So when Zach comes back, I'll have him flip the slide, but I figured I'd highlight a few of my favorites for the season. Oh, look. He's here. Perfect. So the first one up would be the Prosecco and Parmigiano Reggiano. Now, I love a good bubbly, a good Prosecco this time of year, nice and cold and crisp, along with the Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, which I also absolutely love. The sharp saltiness of this cheese is a nice contrast to the Prosecco. In Italy, where both of the wine and cheese come from, they serve the cheese in chunks alongside fruit or bread for a tasty appetizer. So just a reminder on our Prosecco, this Italian Prosecco is made from Galera grapes, and it's balanced and fruity. It has small bubbles, balanced acidity, and it is great mid-palate. It features fresh pear and hints of green apple, which create pleasing aromas that persist into the finish. One of my picks, Prosecco this season, and definitely with the cheese plates, and that one looks delicious on the screen. I think I'm getting hungry. All right. We can flip over, Zach,
great.
if you don't mind.
Flip it over.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we'll go to the Pinot Grigio with the mozzarella. And there's some extra notes on the slide for you as well. But the Pinot Grigio is a delicately fruity and dry wine that goes well with mozzarella, which has a smooth, mild flavor that helps to bring out the flavor profile in the wine. And just a reminder on our Pinot Grigio, our Vintner collection, it's lively with a touch of minerality and fresh stone fruit. Juicy and fresh with intense fruit and a clean, crisp finish. This is one that I love super cold when it gets warmer. I even throw some fruit in it sometimes. It's delicious. It is a dry white wine though, so not sweet, but delicious. And mozzarella cheese is one of my faves.
I'm a fan of mozzarella. I really like mozzarella.
Fresh mozzarella, perfect.
So
All right.
Alistair would like to say very nice. She likes this segment. So
Thank you. Hey, if you want to hear about something else, let us know. Always happy to bring to the table what the people want to hear. So next up is rosé and feta cheese. So what you pair with rosé really depends on the wine, like I mentioned earlier. So the Vintner Collection Rosé, Her Story Rosé, and Sonoma Coast Rosé are all great options for the season. You can tell we really like rosé. We have them in different collections, and they're all unique and different and have different tasting profiles. But for the sake of this, I thought the Sonoma Coast Rosé would be really cool to highlight. The tasting profile on this one is notes of sour cherry, pomegranate, and mineral abound on the palate in this elevated medium body rosé. So check out the Sonoma Coast, but we also have the Vintner Collection, the Her Story Rosé, and I do believe we still have the other one in stock too. So,
and look what I just opened.
Did you? Is that the Prosecco?
Yeah. No,
or the rosé?
It's
You got the rosé. Sorry.
It's the Rosado? Yeah.
It was, yeah. So that's
the Her Story Rosado.
Yep, that's our Italian rosé. Delicious. Make sure it's cold, Zach.
It's very cold. It's been in there for over 2 weeks because remember, I wanted to open it our last show, but I couldn't do it because I had a headache. Well, now I'm going to treat it like a hangover, and I'll drink the headache away.
I love it. Sip away, enjoy yourself.
You start in the morning, right? You can't drink all day unless you start in the morning, is what I meant. So, but this is the Her Story Rosado. Yes.
Yep. Yes. Made in Italy. That one is it's light and refreshing. You know,
it's very light.
Yeah. Very light,
light,
crisp. Like not super heavy at all.
Right,
And
right.
I drank a lot of rosé last summer. And on warm days, I just throw some like frozen blueberries in it or something and make it fun.
You
And
know,
it's really easy to mix up. And
I have so much frozen fruit in my fridge, and now I think as soon as this show's over, I'm going to be, all fruity with,
make it a meal. It's good for you.
Hey, there you
just
go.
great,
Fried
Zach.
chicken and fruity rosé.
And so our last one that I'll talk about for the season, because I wanted to bring in a red also. This one highlights the Primitivo and the Zinfandel with cheddar cheese. One of the best cheeses for this wine is an aged cheddar cheese. The saltiness of this cheese will help to soften the tannins in the wine. I'm going to talk about the Primitivo because we highlighted that the last show we had. That's our new collection. I know you've got that one with you as well. The tasting profile on that, it's medium bodied, and it features notes of violet, sweet oak, dark cherry, and mocha with balanced, smooth tannins and a long finish with hints of cinnamon. I'm curious to how you like that. And you know what? I'd even try that alongside a cheesesteak, truthfully.
Okay. Well,
yeah, you've got that on hand. If you have a cheesesteak coming up soon in the plans.
I hadn't planned on it, but you know what? We started talking about it, and it was kind of one of those things that's like going, damn, I got to cook dinner tomorrow. So,
I mean, I love how
might be it.
With certain foods, it kind of brings out different flavors in the wine. So let me know if you give that a go. Let me know how you like it.
Yeah, I will do that.
If anyone's planning for gatherings, I hope that this helps to kind of put some great pairings, maybe some really fun cheese plates and charcuterie boards together for the season. So,
and I know that we weren't planning on doing this, and I'm putting you on the spot, but please go through one more time the Her Story collection.
Yeah. So on the left here is the Prosecco, which you want to serve cold. It is delicious. So the Her Story collection is, these wines are made in Italy. Okay. I actually have them right here. And let me see now that you're saying that. No, there's not on it. Okay. You want to serve this cold though. This one is crisp, fresh pear in this. There's notes of that. It's a bubbly. It's a brunch wine. It's a dessert wine. It's a really bubbly, warm day wine. It's nice and light. I can't wait until you try it, Zach.
Just, because I'm used to hearing it with champagne, are sparkling wines still good for, and I know that's champagne is a name. It's a name of a grape. But are sparkling wines good with stuff like mimosas and those fun drinks like that, those fun brunch drinks?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can put Prosecco into a mimosa for sure. People put sparkling rosé into mimosas, and that's fine too. It's really, your palate, your choice. Like I mentioned earlier, I made suggestions, but if you don't like certain cheeses that I mentioned, don't do it. Find
eat them
one
with another cheese.
It tastes good.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And then the next one is our wonderful risotto.
Yeah. So that is our
cherry candy. That's it. Yep.
So
cherry candy.
I'm gonna flip the script, Zach, and put you on the spot. So with the risotto that you're sipping on, do you taste any notes of rose petal, strawberry, or cherry candy?
The one thing I love about it is it's a faint, very light, not faint, very light. And yeah, you definitely taste strawberry, and I can taste like a kind of like a really weak cherry Jolly Rancher. So,
okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I taste it. I've never eaten a rose petal, so I don't know what that tastes like.
When I initially saw the tasting profile on this, I thought that this wine was going to be sweet, seeing the cherry candy.
It is not.
No.
It is not. I mean, it's sweet, but it's not, you take a drink and you get a cavity sweet.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't equate it next to like a Moscato or something like that. It's more of a lighter, refreshing, crisp. I I would almost compare it closer to like a Sauvignon Blanc or a Pinot Grigio type of not flavor profile, but crispness, crisp and dryness in the wine. I guess that's the best way to say it.
It is. It's anybody who does not like a heavy, dry wine. This is a great place to get started with One Hope Wines. I'm going to tell you right now, this right here for a guy who's not a wine connoisseur, for a guy who didn't really know a damn thing about wines until he met the Goddess of the Grape. This is fantastic. I really like this, and I like the story behind her story. So I think that it's this is a great wine to get started with.
I love that you're expanding your palate, Zach, and you're diving in and trying stuff. Because I remember one conversation we had where I was like, I'm not a wine expert. I take our notes from our winemakers, yeah, but like you don't have to be an expert to do this. And our wines are approachable. And you were like, we don't say beer is approachable. Wait, hold on a second. But
I asked you, what does that mean? You never.
What does
said,
that mean?
My Coors Light's very approachable. That means it's sitting up on the bar and I'm approaching it, right? I remember that too. Back in my crazy youthful days.
I think what's really fun, being that I was only a white wine drinker actually when I got started with One Hope, is that we have different collections and they serve for different kinds of wine drinkers. I find, if you have a more experienced palate, check out our reserve collection. I feel like our Vintner collection kind of covers from beginners all the way to someone who could really, pinpoint and really enjoys wine on a regular basis. But then we have, some of those sweeter wines. For a lot of times the sweeter wines are for more the novice drinkers that are just kind of getting started and exploring wine. So it's really cool because we have different collections, different price points, and really they all serve a different purpose and they all give back. I will say that every single bottle not only gives back to the organizations that you're supporting through the fundraising link, but also to the One Hope Foundation, where our main pillars of giving are to end hunger, clean water, health, and education. So,
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. The last one that you've got from the Her Story collection, you mentioned it in the last of the 6 that we were talking about, but notes of violet, sweet oak, dark cherry, and mocha. So
yeah,
I see chocolate covered cherry.
I see chocolate covered cherry. So this is I find it to be a little bit of a bolder red wine. I would give it a go with the cheesesteak though, Zach.
I'll give it a shot.
Go with the cheesesteak, a burger, a steak on the grill. I would go for it and see how you like it.
All right. I'll take the bullet on this one. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
We'll need the full report back here. No, I'm just kidding.
that sounds great. So, Stephanie, what does the number 9.7 million mean? And I got that right?
Yeah. So we are now over $9.7 million donated to date. And it's through people just enjoying and sharing some wine. If there's a special occasion, you need to send a gift, we ship across the US, 3 to 5 business days. Your recipient can have a gift and it's doing good at the same time. And what I love is that you could select the organization that you want to support in the process at the same time. It's award-winning Napa Valley wine. You really can't go wrong. Maury Wells Coyle, Robert Mondavi Jr., Tony Coltrane, some of the best, biggest winemaker names in the industry. And we're the only Napa Valley winery with more than 5 90 point or above ratings for under $25 a bottle too. And it's easy. It's right to your door. So and as you mentioned, it gives back.
once again, we are in our 1 year month. So Stephanie and I have been doing this for 1 year. We started it 1 year ago today, to where we bring up all of these wonderful organizations that work very hard, like Pandas Network, like Pieces of Me. You guys heard 2 stories today of 2 organizations that are out there that are just doing some wonderful thing and could really use your help. Imagine this, you're having a get together. All you got to do is scan these codes. You're going to get your wine delivered to your house. So that's one thing off your to-do list, because it's going to be delivered straight to your home. You've got this party coming up, and now all we have to do is enjoy, celebrate, and support.
And if anybody has something coming up and they have some questions, because when you go onto the website, there are so many wines to choose from. Reach out to me if you have questions, and you want to say, hey, this is the kind of group of people I have coming over. This is what they typically enjoy. What do you recommend? I'm happy to help guide you through the process or take the order for you. So just reach out if you have any questions, or if you have an organization that you'd like to see highlighted here, let Zach and I know.
Yep. We once again, we're celebrating our 1st year, and we're only looking to make it bigger and better. And Stephanie, I want to thank you so very much. You've really worked. I've really taken advantage of your kindness the last 2 shows. So you've been
not at all.
But
we're a good team, Zach. Yeah. We're a good team.
Well, and today, as I mentioned, today is, it's eye-opening to me, because it's given me a road that we can go down and maybe help another young man who may have some problems that have not been diagnosed yet. So it's I'm actually pretty excited because maybe we can find some answers that we've desperately been looking for. And I want to thank you for your struggles and being able to talk about your struggles, because again, your story does mean so much to people, and could mean so much to others. And these are just, folks, if you know somebody who's struggling with their kids, it's a hopeless feeling, isn't it, Stephanie? When your kids are struggling, when you don't know what to do and you're pulling your hair out, and you're sitting there, you're doing everything you can, it's a hopeless feeling.
I would say just check in on those people, like just a phone call or a message, like, how is it going? How are they doing? And like, actually just be there to listen to the response. That means everything. Don't just assume it's rainbows and butterflies, because while social media might portray that, a lot of the time it's not always the case. But definitely if we can connect more people with resources and lend a hand of support, we got to get these kids in front of the right doctors more quickly to get this, resolved, so that it's not impacting the rest of their lives and becoming more of a chronic condition.
Yep. If it's not diagnosed, it cannot be taken care of. So that's just kind of the way it is. So Stephanie, again, thank you so much. You can reach Stephanie on her link tree. Just go to Steph Simoes, link tree, Steph Simoes. So
our community Pay It Forward group is right on there too.
Yep.
So if you want to jump on board and follow along with our monthly fundraising events, check it out.
Everything that you need is right there. So, and I am so thankful to this woman, because the other thing that she's helping us with is very important to me and to her, and that is our footprints forward. And this is where we are working together to try to make a difference with people who are having problems with their mental health. And we're learning a lot with this. we're actually learning a whole lot with this, and there's a lot to go. We understand that there's a lot to do, there's a lot to talk about, but there we go. I couldn't find the right background, but yeah. So Footprints Forward is simply created off the saying that no matter no matter how softly you walk, you always leave footprints. You're going to be missed. If you're going to take your life, just remember people are going to miss you. That's not, it's not just something that's going to happen and you're, ah, they're gone. Oh, they're gone. It's not like that. So, and we'd like you to know that Footprints Forward, our mission is providing resources and sharing stories to support mental health and suicide prevention in a forward direction. And once again, I give Stephanie the full credit for that wonderful mission statement. She came up with that on the fly last Monday. So, she is such a wonderful person. And Stephanie, I love you to death, and
We're
I
a good
thank you
team.
for everything you do. So
We're a good team. But if there's anyone out there that has a story around this, or with someone close to them that they'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you. So definitely reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always looking for people to interview and be interviewed and hear your story. So here's a little information about Footprints Forward. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you, Stephanie. You have yourself a wonderful evening. All right.
You too, Zach. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Again, one of the wonderful partners I've got with this program, which is simply known as, geez, I am struggling here trying to find things, so bear with me for just a second. But we're just trying to make life a little bit easier for those who are struggling, and Footprints Forward. That was nice that it froze right in the middle of it. That was awesome. So welcome to the computer thing. Technology. Awesome. Gotta love it. So I want to give a huge thanks to somebody who was watching today on LinkedIn, and that's a wonderful partner of ours, Alistair Banks. Alistair Banks does these wonderful, and this is so important because it fits with what we're doing. And she does these wonderful positivity journals. She does one for adults. She does one for teenagers, and she does one for kids. Sorry about the horrible. I've got the background on and can't use the green screen because I can't figure out my background. Yeah. Maybe it's too much wine already. I've become such a lightweight. Half a glass, I'm a goner. So, but Alistair Banks is one of our wonderful partners. She is a young female who does some great things with Christian-based books for girls and young women, and we would just like for you to please check her page out at Alistair the Author. You can find her, and that's her Facebook. I believe that's your Facebook and everything, Alistair, if I remember correctly. But you can find out all of her information also if you go to, trying to find it here. And again, riveting show material here. But you can just contact us to find out more about Alistair Banks, the author Alistair Banks. And if you purchase her books, if you purchase her books, she will donate a portion. If forward sent me, she's going to donate to you. So please make sure that you utilize this. Our programs are built to try to help people, and that's what we want to do. We're here to help you. We're here to help others. We're here to help the small business. Okay. At Community Pay It Forward, 80% of any referral is awarded to one of our is awarded by one of our partners, is allocated to communities in need. With a few clicks, you can make a difference in your community just by shopping. Say you need a website done. Well, you go to Z World Webs, you hire Mr. Z, you get a wonderful website, you get to donate to people, and your business gets to thrive. All you guys come here to find your partner. Go to Verified Giving Partners and click. Here you go. You've got all of these wonderful organizations. People are in here, personal coaching, pet services, plumbers, grant writing, family fun, and if you want your business, if you want your sales to mean more than just a sale, we invite you to please get a hold of me at my For My Card, and that's formycard.net, Zach_Clayton, formycard.net, Zach_Clayton. I'm sorry, I had a QR code for it, but I can't find it right now because I'm unorganized. So, but before you make your honeydew list, please check out all of our partners. All of our partners are here just to do simply two things: what you need done and to help others. Okay? As soon as you shop with any of these wonderful people, you go to here to find your partner again and go to the mission partners. And you have all of these choices of people who have asked us for help. Everything from 501c to nonprofits to our kids club, which helps kids learn. It helps organizations that support children. It also helps kids to learn that giving is fun. We have created a color book that tomorrow will be available on the kids club, on the Cub Club page. Okay, this color book will be on the Cub Club page. Parents, inside these color books, there is a page where you put down some information. We give you a few suggestions just to help in case, God forbid, something happens to your child. If we need to find your child, Amber Alert, look, God love them for what they've done. But if they say you're looking for a yellow Toyota, the only car you're going to see that day is yellow Toyota. And let's be honest here. Wow. Oops. Let's be honest here. You don't have time to look at a license plate while you're driving. Right now, it's dangerous to do that. So we've got a couple other suggestions. Suggestions like take and record your child. 5 minutes. 5 minutes of your child saying words like, you ask them what their favorite cereal is. A kid does not say Fruit Loops. Your kid says Fruit Loops. They get excited. That tone in their voice, that inflection in their voice is heard by others and remembered by others. We ask you to have your child direct them into saying a word that maybe they struggle with. Does your child say spaghetti instead of spaghetti? Does your child struggle with L's and R's? Have them say these words. And that way, if they're heard in a store, we can turn these into the news people, these videos into news people. And they can play these words. And when this happens, maybe children can be found. We're going through a very, very tough time right now, and we're losing a lot of kids. We need to get these kids safe. We need to get them sound, and we need to get them found. Okay. Community Cares Cub Club. The color book and suggestions are going to be up tomorrow. It's great because one of the things that we did in my age, yes, that's back when dirt was human. I understand that. So it was a long time ago, but we loved having little cards that said, I am a member of this. Okay. I am a superhero fanatic or whatever, I am a Sports Illustrated junior reporter or whatever it was. Well, in here, there's a little badge that you can put on in their wallet, or, you can laminate it, put it in a wallet. You can put it on one of those neck chains, and it says, I am Cub Club. We ask your kids to put their fingerprints on the back. Your kids are going to see this as, hey, this is great. I get to take and stick my fingers in ink and put it all over this piece of paper and make a little bit of a mess. You're also going to take your half and have your kids put the fingerprints on there. That way you have them. Okay. We ask you, download the book, let your kids color it. Take a picture, send us a picture of your kid coloring the book. Send a picture of your kid having fun with the Cub Club, and we'll put it on the webpage. Just make sure that you give us the authorization to do that, and we will do that. We want to know our Cubs are having fun with what we're doing. So communitypayitforward.us is where you can be found. Everything that we do can be found, and we hope that you really, really join us. Once again, that is communitypayitforward.us. So this is all the time I've got for you tonight. Sorry about the background noise tonight, folks. We've got a lot of stuff going on here. I do want to remind you, please, please, please donate to your local food banks. Peanut butter, canned soup, canned fruit, canned vegetables, canned stews, canned fish. Ugh. Then again, I guess I love tuna. Canned beans and pasta, whole grain rice, and stuff like that. Donate to people who can help you. Once again, please remember that if you're not helping someone, you're hurting everyone. Please remember, no one has to go it alone when we all come together. Take care of each other out there, because we're all we got. Okay. So let's take care of each other. Let's make sure we're all doing good, and the world will be a lot better. By the way, buy your One Hope wines. This one's really good. Obviously, I'm knocking over everything. So, and you all did see, 3 sips. So, I'm kind of a lightweight now.
Stepping out of her fear, bring me home. Out alone, show me the way. You wanna be a part of Sunset Boulevard.